You are now watching Believe. Do you believe?
Of course, the big question in New York all week, and really for the last few weeks, was would it be Zach Wilson or would it be Joe Flacco at quarterback against the Ravens? And now we know Jets coach Robert Saleh announced on Wednesday that Zach Wilson will not be able to play probably for 3 to 4 weeks. And so it will indeed be Joe Flacco facing off against the Baltimore Ravens. And what a story that will be. Flacco, of course, spent his first 11 seasons in Baltimore, won a Super Bowl MVP in Baltimore, and then left Baltimore after the Lamar Jackson era began here in Baltimore. But let's go back and look at Joe Flacco's Baltimore career. Now, a lot of fans may not realize this, but Joe Flacco's first touchdown of his career was actually a run, and it was a run of 38 yards. Still the longest run of Joe Flacco's career. But his first touchdown pass was a 4-yard pass at Pittsburgh to a tight end named Daniel Wilcox. So, Daniel Wilcox, I have to ask you, do you remember the play?
I absolutely do, Bo. I had to go back and do a little research, man, to kind of, familiarize myself with it. But after watching it again, like, it's the picture that I see on all over like social media and all over the internet. It's that picture of me catching the ball in the corner of the end zone against Troy Polamalu. But I remember going in that game, and I remember just freaking Coach Cameron putting in this jumbo package. We put Adam Terry at one of the tight ends. Me and Todd Heat was at the other two tight ends. And then we had Lorenzo Neal at fullback and LaRon McClain at tailback. It was like the biggest package I've ever seen. I think I was the smallest guy on the field at the time. So I was backside by myself at tight end on the left-hand side, and I ran a corner out to the back of the end zone. And the players disguised it looked like a run, like a play-action pass type thing. So Polamalu had me one-on-one. I knew it was cover 0, right off rip. So I knew he had me man-to-man as soon as he came down the line. He bit on the run fake just enough for me to just kind of give him a quick low move to his right and then slip him to his left, or slip him to his right, my left. And I put my foot in the ground, ran to the corner. Flacco threw a dime, man, to the back corner of the end zone, and I just ran and caught it over my head and with two hands and secured it. Double tapped my feet in the end zone and got my boy Flacco on the board. I remember spinning the ball, doing my dance, and going to get the ball out there, finish spinning to make sure that he was able to keep that ball. And I threw the ball over to our equipment manager, Ed Carroll, at the time. And told Flacco, I got you, brother. I got you. And I had to stay out there for the 2-point conversion. So, but it was pretty cool, man. I went over to the sideline, gave him a big hug, man, told him congratulations and stuff like that, man. He was such a young kid, man, at the time, fresh out of college. It was that old Delaware to App State thing. I said, it's only fitting, man. You lose to the national championship, the year before you come out to the NFL to App State, and then you throw your first touchdown pass to an App State guy, right?
Well, that's very good. So you made sure he got the ball after that play.
Yeah, he got the ball. I got a dummy copy. So they gave me another game ball that wasn't the official ball, but he asked the official ball. I wanted to make sure that he, like, those things that you take for granted, like you throw so many of them, as a quarterback, and you take for granted like your first ever thrown ball. You weren't even thinking about it. You were just so freaking happy and caught up in the moment. I don't even think he thought twice about the ball. Mm-hmm. I grabbed the ball because I already knew, at that point, like, I was like, man, this is a really special moment for him. He'll never need to forget this, so I wanted to make sure he got it.
He got it, and he threw a lot more touchdowns in his career with the Baltimore Ravens, but now he goes to New York, and it's a second stint with the Jets, in fact, but now they know he will be starting against the Ravens on Sunday. And we talked to a few of the players yesterday after practice. Marlon Humphrey and Chuck Clark are two, there's not, the way the NFL turns lineups over, there aren't even that many players who have even played with Flacco in Baltimore. We were joking with Kyle Hamilton yesterday, the Ravens' first-round draft pick. He was 11 years old when Joe Flacco won a Super Bowl with the Ravens. 11. But wow. Humphrey has played, Chuck Clark played. These guys were on the practice field with Flacco for a couple of years before Flacco left. And Marlon Humphrey said yesterday, look, we know Joe's got a big arm. He always has, and he always will. He can make all the throws. So Joe Flacco, we know Joe Flacco has weapons in New York. I mean, he's got Corey Davis, who was one of their big free agent signings last year, who was hurt and missed several games last year, but he's back. They've got Braxton Berrios. They've got Elijah Moore. And we mentioned they've got a first-round draft pick, a top 10 draft pick in wide receiver Garrett Wilson. And they also have tight end CJ Uzomah, who was a longtime nemesis with the Cincinnati Bengals. So he's there as well. One thing about the Jets, though, is they've lost their big tackle, Mekhi Becton, again for the entire season. And that could be a huge factor, especially when we watch Odafe Owe just be so destructive this summer on the practice fields. So Owe could be primed for a big game. But in general, Daniel Wilcox, with those weapons and with this New York offense and Joe Flacco's skill set, what is the key to defending Flacco?
I think the key is just kind of get him off rhythm. If you could figure out a way to keep him off rhythm where he don't get into a rhythm passing scheme, because he's a rhythm passer. Once he starts to flow a little bit, get a little confidence, he hit guys in stride. He's deadly accurate with the ball, and he has a phenomenal deep ball. I think that's probably one of his best throws. I think you play, maybe cover 4, anything to keep guys over the top, cover 4, cover 3. Even if you go man, you got to at least have 1 or 2 deep, so maybe a 2 version of man or something like that. But once they go to the 3x1 sets, you got to go into some form of 3 high or something like that, so you can get somebody extra down into the box to cover that slot receiver. But I think, to me, applying pressure, Owe, you need Owe to have a big game. Anytime you apply pressure, you disrupt that rhythm. And there's so many things that can go wrong. And I used to tell people this all the time, but as a tight end, like, it's one of those positions where there's 200 things that could go wrong before the actual ball comes to you in the right spot, in the right place. You got to run the right route. You got to be able to get off the line of scrimmage. The quarterback has to receive the snap without fumbling it. The center has to hear the call. The O-lineman got to stay on sides. They got to get the D lineman hands down so they don't tip the ball. But when it comes out of the quarterback's hand, it's so many different things that are factors for a tight end or a receiver to be successful every time the ball is thrown. And it's all about timing. The quarterback has to throw the ball. Sometimes he got to throw you open. You're not open. He got to throw you open. And Joe is one of those guys that can do that. He's a veteran, a savvy veteran, and he's gonna have a little bit of chip on his shoulder, I think, for this game. It's gonna be one for the books for him. He definitely want to come out and put his best foot forward. He want the Ravens to know that he still had juice when they let him go, and they should have kept him in Baltimore and stuff. I don't care how good Lamar Jackson is. That's kind of where his mindset would be, right? But it should be a pretty fun game from him. He's very familiar with the Ravens defense, and he should know exactly where the holes are since he went against them in practice every day, for the most part of his career.
Well, they'll have Marcus Peters back, we think. Marcus Peters is limited in practice this week, but he's looked pretty good on the practice field. And if I had to bet, I think Marcus Peters will play. Of course, Marlon Humphrey will be back. They've got Kyle Fuller now. They've got Marcus Williams at safety, and they've got the rookie Kyle Hamilton, Chuck Clark. You've got Brandon Stevens. It's a deep, healthy for now secondary that
Right.
Flacco will be going against, but there will be a lot of good matchups on that field, wide receivers and tight ends against these Ravens defense. Overall, Daniel Wilcox, 2 to 3 keys to the game for the Ravens. The Ravens win this game if what?
The Ravens win this game if they control 2 phases of the game, Bo. So we used to always look at offense, defense, and special team as 3 phases. And in this game, if you could figure out a way to win at least 2 of those phases, you win. So if the Ravens could figure out how to win maybe defense and special teams or offense and special teams, and get back to playing Baltimore Raven football, healthy Baltimore Raven football where they're creating turnovers on defense and maybe get you a touchdown, a here or 2 on special teams or defense. And then the Ravens offense can put together at least 21, 28 points, which Lamar and company has been known to kind of, put some serious numbers up. So I think they can win this game, man. I think it's a very winnable game for them. The Jets is they're still a building franchise, and I think they got some studs over there. I think they did a heck of a job in the draft this year. So it's going to really come down to, how prepared Baltimore is, and whether or not they come out and play like a Raven, the way Harbaugh's always, preached and put out there, man. But if they can figure out a way to win 2 phases of this game, because special teams to me is always like maybe the underrated phase.
I mean,
people kind of sleep on special teams.
John Harbaugh doesn't sleep on special teams. A long-time special teams coach, and let's face it,
exactly.
The Ravens go into almost every single game with a special teams edge because they have the best kicker in the game. That's just the way it is. And I know there's more to special teams than kicking. You've got to return punch, you've got to cover punch, you've got to cover kicks and all of that. But if it comes down to a close game, they know they have a kicker weapon that no other team can match. And so that is always a huge thing for them. They come in as a 7-point favorite. I personally expect this game to be closer than that, But I think if the Ravens execute the way they want, they win the game. Of course, the biggest challenge I see coming for this Ravens team is, again, we talked about it earlier, finding their stride quickly for a lot of guys who have not played a snap in the preseason, but they feel good about where they're at. We'll see about the health of Stanley and Dobbins and Peters, especially. But I think the Ravens facing Joe Flacco is a storyline that we could not have predicted, and it's going to be exciting. And I agree with you. I think Joe Flacco will be. He's always been kind of, people think he has this Joe cool, stoic attitude. He is fiercely competitive.
Super.
And I guarantee you he is going to be fired up for this game, even though it may not show outwardly. There will be a lot of fire brewing in him to face the Ravens in this game into the season opener. All right, so that's it. It will be the Ravens and the Jets from MetLife Stadium, which I still call the Meadowlands, on Sunday, September 11th. And we'll be back with the show again next week, previewing the home opener when the Ravens will host the Miami Dolphins. And Daniel Wilcox will talk then about your experience coming out of the tunnel and what that is like for a player coming out of the tunnel in a home opener, because it's something many of us will never understand. For Daniel Wilcox, this is Bo Smoke. I want to thank you for listening to Believe in the Ravens, presented by Bet Online.